Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all. For new people, welcome. Good to see all of the subscribers that are on right now, and especially my members, the valedictorians. Good morning, and welcome to Coffee and Crime Charts. It's been a while, and that was coffee, not cough. Coffee and Crime Charts started, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I stopped doing it because I was a morning person back then, but I'm going to reboot it. And so I think you guys are excited about that because some of our international subs can come in and join us instead of having to wait the next day. Normally I'm on Sunday nights, and today I'm so excited because we've got Eve in the house. She's in the green room waiting. She is one of my favorite YouTubers, and she doesn't know this. I hope she can't hear me. But when I first started on YouTube, I watched Eve, and I was like, okay. And she was really like kind of a mentor to me. And also, she was always open when I was investigating something, and I would reach out to her and get her input. And so always very nice to interact with her in those early days. So I'm very excited that she can come on and give us some of her opinions. She is an Aries moon, and you don't mess with Aries moons. And you'll see in some of her content, you'll have to go check out her page and subscribe. She really corrupt people are scared of her. Let's just say that, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, what we're going to talk about today is, first off, we're going to kick off the Kohberger updates. And let's see here. Did I get that right? Everything's a little slow today, of course. But we're going to kick off just a discussion about Kohberger. And then we'll get into the Rachel Morin case. I think Eve has been really looking into that. I'm interested in hearing her opinion. And then we have some potentially bombshell updates for you, or information about Sean Doherty. And you may have seen some of my early work. Todd Siegel brought me in on that case. And we're going to look at some old video with him. And, always an amazing read. So we'll take a look at that. And the updates, there's a couple of them. One includes a police raid that just happened. So I'm going to give you more information on that. And we're going to see if we can connect the two. I'd also like to talk about whether there might be a serial killer in Virginia, because there are quite a few similar, maybe, I don't know, copycat, but I don't know if they are similar to Sean's case, but they sure look like it. So I think the FBI might have a bigger case on their hands. Well, we might be very surprised that it's a lot bigger than we initially thought. The FBI, I think they already knew from early days, because they're on it. At least the big guys, not the local necessarily, but this is big time FBI that is coming in and looking at this, looking at some potential, well, it's an investigation. It's a sealed warrant that was issued. And we want to know if it's connected to the Sean Doherty case. So Jen Puff, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. You are now a valedictorian. And let's get to the next slide. I guess, first of all, if you're interested in forensic astrology, go to Amazon, only Amazon. I think my book is appearing on other sites, but definitely go to Amazon and check it out. You can get some good information on how astrology is basically a language, and how you can apply that language to crime and see if you can find clues. So, and then if you're interested in membership, you can also get my my video. The video is about 30 minutes long. It's normally $29, but you can get it for free if you sign up as a member. So hope you can do that. Now, we're going to start with the Kohberger trial chart today. And not to be confused with the hearing chart, which we looked at the other day and made some predictions. But we'll start with this and get some general input from Eve. see what she thinks, if she's been following that, and got some notes for the trial chart that's coming up on October 2nd. I put 9 a.m. I don't know if you guys know the actual time, hoping I got that close. But let's bring Eve in, see what she's up to. Hey, Eve.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing well. Sorry my camera isn't working today. I had it all prepped last night and then I woke
Oh, it's
up
okay. These,
and
surprise, surprise, right? It's like with Mercury retrograde, it's like the tricksters in the neighborhood. But then as we get closer to the day of actual retrograde, then it's like the tricksters in the house. I mean,
it is. It
woof.
is. I blame
So,
Uranus specifically on
yes.
in my chart.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, Uranus, definitely such a strong energy, and it's really affecting some of these cases too. And we're going to see that a little
Yes.
bit later, especially. And I'm going to show everyone the Sean Doherty case. So, so what do you think about? And I'm going to add this 1 second. Is this going to work? Okay. What do you think about the hearing? They're going to go ahead. They're not going to delay this case. The prosecutor wants to make sure that the families don't have to suffer any longer. And the judge made sure that it's going to go ahead on October 2nd. Did you check that out at all? Any thoughts about that?
Yes, I have been following the Kohberger case along with you, not as extensively as you have. So thank you for doing that work for sure,
Yeah,
chart
sure.
wise. But
Yeah.
I do feel like the delay is inevitable. Maybe not necessarily right now,
Mhm.
but I do
Okay.
feel like motions are going to come pouring in, and there's going to be some procedural issues that Ann
Maybe
Taylor
so. Yeah.
and Brian is going to capitalize on in some way. So I do think it's inevitable, but I do like that
Absolutely.
he puts the precedents down, Judge, to go, no, we are going to trial in October. So figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got a point because we've got a couple of hearings coming up. One of which, and it's not a hearing, but it's jury selection. So a couple of dates in there that, you know, somebody's going to throw a wrench into this process or something. We think. But what I did was I pulled the chart. If it is 9 a.m., we're just going to give it a shot and take a look and see what we might expect. And as everyone knows who's been watching in the past, I guess, week or so, ninth house, of course, is the house of, it's really the courthouse. And the sixth house is courthouse matters. And so we kind of look at those two things, and then the lords of those houses, which is the ninth house lord and the sixth house lord, and see where they are. So let me get to the next slide here. I try to make it a little bit easier to, you know, just trying to zoom in a little bit for you guys instead of giving you that whole chart. But one thing that I do in my readings, you'll see, especially for solar chart readings, and this is if you want to do it on your own, to everyone who is just coming in, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on in. Good to see everybody. But point of fortune is so important. You want to see if you're going to succeed that year, or sometimes you succeed, but you don't feel like you did. And you can see that in the chart. So I wanted to take a look to see if that chart for the hearing or for the trial, if it goes forward, is going to be successful, meaning will looked at this, the little X there with the circle around it. And then I looked at where the government was on the other side of the chart. So you can see that that's the sun. And 9 degrees is Sagittarius. So I don't know, government in the courtroom, government lawyer, maybe. And so we got to try. So it seems if there isn't some kind of transit that affects the success, or maybe they're going to start the trial in the afternoon, then we're going to have to look at it again. But it seems as if they're going to be successful in prosecuting him, which is not what we had said before. We were thinking that because all of this happened in retrograde, the investigation, it was going to be extremely chaotic. And I think that still might be the case for the police. But the sun there, it looks as if it might be the government. And Libra, justice. So we're going to get to Rachel Morin in a second. But I think, that's all I wanted to cover right now. And then when we get into our members only lounge, we'll look at it a little bit closer. So Eve, you think we should keep an eye out on maybe some things that are going to throw, or maybe there's going to be a fly in the ointment.
In law enforcement?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at the chart now. Yeah. And it's interesting how that Venus up there at the top, I think that could be, there's a couple of things we can see. We can see that there is a witness there. Mercury is part of Grand Trine. So they are going to have witnesses that it trines Uranus. So obviously that's going to be like a genealogy type of DNA witness. And so that's going to probably be the main theme there. But you can also see with Mercury, and like I said, we'll get more into this when we're in the members lab a little bit later. But Mercury up at the top there, the 11th house, it opposes Neptune. And often that means, a witness goes missing or a witness doesn't show up. So it'll be interesting to see. Mars and South Node. Now, Mars might be the weapon. And so we could probably read a little bit into that. It could also be the police.
Is that in the
so
first
we'll
house?
See what happens. All right. Which Mars?
Yes.
Is it?
I'm sorry,
no,
I couldn't
it's
see
in the 12th.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. What's that about? Now, we do say that the South Node, which is that little, for anybody who's just joining who doesn't know astrology, that's like the horseshoe next to the little Mars symbol. That shows something gets left behind. So that could be the weapon. There maybe they found a weapon and that's a secret because it's in the 12th house. But sometimes it means what's lost, what was left behind. So maybe they don't have that weapon. But that'll be part of the conversation, most definitely. And it's part of that T-square there. So lots and lots of discussion, I think. Obviously, we don't need
I feel like the
for that.
weapon is hidden very well, where it's unattainable. That's always been the feeling. So I think maybe that is part of discovery, is the actual, where is this, we have proof that you have a weapon, that you bought this knife and sheath combo. Where is it? How can you not account for it? And I think that's going to be a big thing for prosecution.
Absolutely. And you see half and half for the investigation. I personally look at Pluto down there in the 3rd, and you have a grand trine, which is a great success, but then you have a T-square. So it's like they're only half, at half capacity, it seems. And the weapon is obviously part of that T-square, and maybe something they want, but they can't get to. Want meaning North Node in the 6th house. So that's going to be something they're going to get caught up in. But anyway, we'll save the rest of that discussion for the lab, because I have a few more thoughts on that. Now, you were saying a couple of things, if I'm not mistaken, about Rachel Morin. And what compelled you to look at her case?
A lot of people were really targeting people closest to Rachel, and I know and I understand why they did that, because it's typically somebody that she knows very well, or a
Mhm.
victim of this kind of crime. It's a scorned lover or someone who didn't get what they wanted, and things like that. And my spiritual side was kicking in, like, no, there's something more here. I do feel like this was a targeted attack, but it was from someone who knew of her and had,
Of her.
yeah, kind of the Brian Koberger's feel, of I can't control this person. So I went with my intuition, which I've been
Mhm.
neglecting lately, and it's
Mhm.
turning out to seem like that's the case here, that she might have been targeted.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And let's take a look at just this chart here. This is what I'm getting for when she went missing. At 22 degrees, I call it the danger degree. Some people call it the kill or be killed. There are plenty of charts where I see 22 where people aren't murdered, but they might be in danger. But in this case, it definitely is, reflective of what happened with her. She, in fact, I think, let me, hang on one second. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, so let me just read this real quick. A Maryland teacher vanished without a trace after being spotted in a park just days before slain mom of 5, Rachel Morin, disappeared. Miriam Torrey Sillett, 60, was last seen on the evening of July 29th near Shroms Hill Park in Greenbelt, about an hour north from where Morin's body was found. Morin, 37, was reported missing on August 5th after she left to go hiking on the Ma and Pa Trail in Bel Air of Shroms Hill Park. Her badly beaten body was found days later. Although the two cases have striking similarities, police have not explicitly linked them together yet. Authorities investigating Scylla's disappearance still have no major leads, despite an extensive search effort, Greenbelt Police Chief Richard Bauer said at a Thursday morning press release or press conference. So, very interesting. Well, it looks like to me, let me get back here. Well, it kind of reminds me of the Moscow, Idaho case because we've got Aries
Yes.
in the seventh house and often shows somebody very angry. What's that?
I was agreeing.
Did you say
Yes,
something?
it
You
gives.
can hear me, right?
Yes,
Oh,
can you
okay.
hear me? I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah. No,
It
yeah.
gives me the Brian
So Aries,
Koberger
yeah.
DNA
So Aries,
issues.
I know. Yeah. So they're like anger. And then when you see North Node, that's an enhancer, like somebody who is extremely angry. Whenever you see North Node, to anybody who doesn't know astrology, you put it next to any planet, and it magnifies it, and not in a good way. Unless, and this is one chart that I've been studying, is I'm doing a lot of charts on careers, and there was one with a 30-year career, and that was North Node next to Saturn. So sometimes longevity is a good thing, but normally I would say, if it's in the seventh house of the perp and it's in Aries, there was some kind of anger involved. And so I'm not sure exactly if it was so random that that we would see something like that. It's usually somebody, if it's random, they're not going to have that angry motive. So I agree with you that I think that they might be familiar with each other,
Yeah, maybe
but
a dating app or something, maybe an acquaintance more than a direct link, but I feel like they've crossed paths at least once, or spoke, maybe text message or something.
yes, exactly. Uh, and it's interesting because Jupiter normally represents somebody who is like a partner or wants to be a partner. And I think it's possible that maybe there was North Node also means a desire to be someone's partner. And then you've got Uranus there, which is like, well, at 22 degrees, it's like a strike, a death strike. So, so now this is the time I pulled this snapshot at around the time she left. So, so when you go counterclockwise from Jupiter to Uranus, that's kind of like the next thing that happens, that somebody strikes, and it's terrible to think about. But then I've got the perp planet Mars. It's squaring part of fortune. So it does not look like, even though what he was initially trying to carry out was a success, in the end, I think they are going to apprehend this person. But what's really weird is that Mercury's right next to it, which means two. So, I mean, the way that I envision it, my own intuition is one, but why am I seeing Mercury there? Could it be a phone? Could it be communication with Rachel? But in the 11th house, just like you said, Eve, it's kind of like the network. Now, could be a friend, 11th house of friendships, but 11th house is also groups and apps, and because the 11th house is an Aquarius house. So either way, it looks like they're going to get this person, and we hope that is the case. So we're going to look at that
Absolutely.
that chart a little bit more soon. Yeah. Anything to add on that?
Yeah, I actually wanted to have some input on the sleuthing side and the reading side that I have done on her very briefly. I did obtain
Sure.
dispatch recordings of two perpetrators before the search, the initial search that night. A few hours before
Okay.
her alleged murder, um, there were two guys that did not want to provide their IDs, and they were very hesitant to talk to a police officer. And that was on the
Oh, wow.
dispatch. So I do feel like maybe there was somebody potentially around at least, and maybe that's a
Yes.
witness.
Yeah, that could be a witness. Then that's Mercury. Mercury is a witness that is standing by and is right near that perp. And so we could probably say from this chart that witness is reliable. Uh, so interesting. And we always see Virgo popping in. Sometimes that's that could be clothing, Virgo, or sixth house, because that's what Virgo is representing. Sometimes it can mean a stalker. So I think maybe she was stalked online. I think that's a possibility. So, yes. Good, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining. And so it'll be interesting to see the next updates on that. Okay. And there's the 11th house, the full 11th house there. Uh, Black Moon Lilith represents her because it's right next to her. And she's kind of at a disadvantage because of the retrograde. But usually somebody who has that Black Moon Lilith, uh, they're kind of well, if we see it in the way or profile of a person who is like a killer, it's somebody who's very nefarious or is very sneaky or dark. But in this case, since it's the victim, sometimes it can be, it's kind of like the Marilyn Monroe point, because of Black Moon Lilith is very prominent in Marilyn Monroe's chart. And that means a lust. Okay, so somebody's lusting after her in the 10th house, maybe in the public, or somebody who commands, the way that she carries herself, which obviously she was a very attractive lady. So, okay. So you ready to move on to the next one?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we've got an update here, and I think what I want to do, hang on one second, I'm going to add this. And hopefully you can hear this. Okay. I'm just going to play this for a second. Oh, great. Hold on.
Flashing lights on a long line of cars. It's on Carriage Hill Drive. 10 on your side's Andy Fox is live with what we know about the FBI's investigation. Andy?
Yeah, you saw all the lights there. This is a very quiet neighborhood. So what happened out here was very surprising to the neighbors and also to the people who live behind me. Early morning hours, West Carriage Hill Drive, a sealed search warrant executed and a bullhorn. Come out with your hands up.
All occupants of 19 Carriage Hill Drive. This is the FBI. We have a search warrant for the residence. Come out with your hands up and nothing in your hand. Do it now.
Law enforcement not in short supply. The FBI, Virginia State Police, Virginia State Police K-9, Virginia State Police Bomb Squad, Pocosin Police. Even Sandy Sampson was here. She once lived in the house that was raided.
Got a text from my sister who was like, Mom's old house is being raided. The cops are there, the FBI, you know. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to ride by there and check it out.
This is a sealed search warrant and an ongoing investigation, so the FBI won't say much except the search was court authorized. The statement went on to say no threat to public safety, no arrest made, but a neighbor says she saw one of the occupants of the house with an FBI agent. Freddie Rumbo couldn't believe what he saw when he looked out his door.
State police, government vehicles with the big bumpers on them, local police, county police. I mean, it seems like everybody was here.
Neighbors confirm a mother and two grown sons live in the house and they just moved in. A man left the house and wouldn't stop to talk.
Can you tell me what happened?
He returned about 30 minutes later.
Pretty intimidating and scary, you know. I don't really know what to think about what's going on.
And that is what we know about what was going on. Again, evidence continues to be gathered in this case. There have been no arrests made, but there was a lot of evidence taken out of this home behind me. I'll keep you updated on what happens.
Okay, so so there you go. And well, what do we care about that? And Shelley, I think you're talking about this one. There could, and we want to watch what we say, unless we're in the members' lounge, but it is possible that there could be maybe a connection, because rumor has it in the neighborhoods that the two people that are in that house used to live near Sean Doherty. I'm not sure if that's true, but we've got some thoughts about that. From what I understand, these gentlemen are being investigated because they're very dangerous, and it's possible there are some drugs and guns that were apprehended. And I'm going to take a look at the chart. So let's look at what happened when they were raiding it. And ultimately what I'm trying to do is say to myself, because there is rumor that there might be some connection with Sean Doherty. I'm not sure if that's the truth, but that's opinion. And this is the time of the raid. Okay, so you can see the police, and it's in Pisces, which makes sense because it's kind of like a sneak attack. It was a big secret, Neptune, and maybe there was some undercover. It didn't seem like it just looking at it, but lots of blue there, Neptune blue, and but Neptune also represents drugs. So there are potentially, according to this crime chart, drugs that have something to do with this case, but not just drugs. Could be guns as well. Now you've got Neptune opposing Mars, which is it can be military, it can be guns, and right next to Mercury could be a group of guns, could be two men, which, I mean, of all the facts that we do know, we know that there were two men involved in this raid that may have been taken under custody. But then I heard another rumor that one of them went missing, which would be Neptune as well. So what we're going to do is maybe take a look at the Sean Doherty case a little bit closer. We're going to look at and see what Todd had said way back in the day. And you can still see that video on my YouTube channel. But Eve, what do you think? Do you think that, I mean, you've been through this with me. It's been a while. I mean, it's been a year and a few months since Sean Doherty passed. And, you know, it's been so terrible for their family. What a shock, a complete shock when you come home in the middle of the day and your son is hanging in the backyard, perfectly happy. They just came back from Disney World. They were planning another Disney World trip. He had loaded his homework onto his school site. I mean, within minutes of this whole thing, this horrible tragedy occurred. And yet, the Pocosin sheriff just wouldn't budge. They wanted, it is my opinion, to just let this go because there were a lot of things that were going on politically for the police then, and they just did not want to maybe step in a bee's nest. I don't know, or beehive. Anyway, that case was closed in May. And so does it mean they might have to reopen it? I don't know. But from a distance, looking at this case, Eve, do you think this could be solved?
I do feel like this case could be solved if the ego, there's a multitude of egos clashing together on different fronts. So you have law enforcement, you have familial, and then you have what doesn't make sense clashing with the norm of these types of cases. I feel like some people, especially law enforcement, look at this and kind of go, "Ugh, I don't want to deal with it." I get that feeling of let's just sweep this under the rug and move on. There's better things to do.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and it's very clear that none of what happened in that home, from our understanding, makes sense at all.
I
You
know,
know?
I know. And also, I mean, what really is mind-boggling is that there were similar cases that were happening. There was one other, from what I understand, hanging of a boy, um, a mere weeks before this happened with Sean. So they might be in some doo-doo if there is some kind of serial killer involved, because I believe I mean, there might be 4 or 5 um, cases within a year time frame, from what I believe. I'll have to double check on that, where a young boy, maybe under 14 and under, was just found hanging. And so I think we're talking about, and Shelley, just to answer your question, this was in Virginia. This is in Yorktown, Virginia, and we've been looking at it for a while now, because it's just so frustrating. Like, Eve, when you see just the obvious clues that there is a crime that is committed, and then the police just are unresponsive, they don't really have interaction with the victim or the victim's family. It's like, it's very frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And the lack of transparency on simple basic things in this case, like where is this evidence? Where are we at in these processes? Um, doesn't make a lot of sense. And the immediate, when the sheriff was kind of poo-pooing on the family asking questions, that in itself is odd. And you have to, as a mother of a
Yeah.
child who your intuition goes, there's something wrong here. My child wouldn't do this, and there's
Exactly.
obvious clues. You have every right to push on that, and I just feel like it's been a horrific battle for the family to get clarity on this.
It has been so frustrating, and just, I mean, they're right at the first day of this investigation. Uh, Even the police, I believe it was an investigator, it was reported, had said to his stepfather, "This there's something wrong here. This was not done by Sean." And I think I've got. Hang on one second. I've got a picture here. All right, we're going to look at Sean's chart. This is actually the raid chart. We'll look a little bit more closely, but this is one of the pictures that the police had released of the glasses that were found outside of their home, right at, I believe it was close to Sean when he was hanging on the swing set. And so when you see this, first of all, one of the glasses, one of the lenses had come out and was on the ground. And then you see the glasses all mangled up like that. Like, what's your opinion? What do you think happened, Eve?
Well, it shows that there's some aggressive movements, right? Just from off the bat, I wear glasses, reading glasses and sunglasses, and it takes a lot of force sometimes to get those prescription glasses to break. Especially if it's, putting the the things that rest on your ears to go through that glass piece is
Yeah,
just a red flag in itself. And then, if you're going to do what you're going to do, if you're suicidal and you're a 12-year-old boy, these kind of
mhm.
things wouldn't happen, in my opinion, thinking about how their thought processes are, you know?
Exactly, exactly. Just to give everyone a little bit of a background here, and Steve, I know you wrote in about Idaho, and we appreciate your comment. Sorry, we're kind of jumping around here, but we're going to get back to Idaho in a little bit on the members channel. But let me just add something to the stream here. Okay, I hope you can see that. And then here it is. The York Poquoson Sheriff's Office has officially closed its investigation into the death of 12-year-old Sean Doherty. Authorities said Sean was found in the backyard of his home, hanging from a swing set in April 2022. The chief medical examiner's office reported Sean was suspended from a shoelace-type string with a bag over his head. And his arms secured by his sides with a belt, which was really the kicker. Like, how could, and it was very tight too. I believe there was a rumor that the police had to actually like somehow use a tool to get it off. So can a 12-year-old do that? We don't know. He was found wearing his stepfather's clothes, shoeless, with no glasses on. The chief medical examiner's office ruled Sean's death a suicide, but his family did not agree with that ruling, and for the last year has been pushing to have the case reexamined. On Monday, Sean's family sent the following statement to News 3. We appreciate the hard work from all involved, and we look forward to gaining access to the investigative files and information. And they did, from what I understand, get access to those investigation files. And it is going to be interesting to hear what they think and whether what they were told fits those files that they were given. So that will be that might be another show there. But what I'd like to do is we're going to head on over to the members lounge. Thank you all for joining us today and giving us your comments. Eve, did you want to say anything about anything coming up for you, or just mentioning at True Crime with Eve?
Yeah, so I am actually due in 6 weeks, so I'm gonna have a little Eve is what I call my other
Yes,
kiddo.
I'm
But
so excited. Congratulations.
yes, thank you. So I have, ironically, more time to focus on the spiritual side and the mediumship side of things that I have been
Okay.
neglecting for a little while. So I'm ramping that
Well,
back up. And if
oh,
anybody
great.
wants to check out my channel, feel free to, and um, sign up as a member if you feel like that my channel is something you would like to
Definitely.
partake in with these mediumship readings and things on these cases, because it's about to ramp up. I feel like cases are going to be just piling on and also being solved. So this is like the hidden truth being exposed for the next 2 years
Yeah.
is what I'm seeing and feeling. So
Absolutely. And, in a few minutes, we're going to get your tips because not only, I mean, you really dig, like a few other YouTubers, very popular YouTubers that we follow. You're one of those people who really dig for information. And so we'd like to get some tips on how you do that. Sometimes you'll come up with, these Facebook pictures or things that nobody has seen before. And so, we'd be interested in knowing your process. But at the same time, besides research, you are a victim's advocate. And then you also use your clairvoyant abilities and the spiritual side too. You put it all together. So, so I think your content is so interesting. And we were happy to have you on today. So thanks so
Thank you
much.
for having me.
And we will see you in a few minutes. Members, you probably got a little notification that we're going to be doing the lab now. So we will see you over there. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you tonight. I've got Amy J in the house. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what Amy J is singing. She's got some new downloads, she says, and she wouldn't tell me what they were. So I was like, okay, well, you're coming on then. So, so we'll see what she has to say, and we'll pull some cards and charts. So we'll see you then. Thanks for joining.